Thanks, Prue and Minister, whom I have promised not to mention the growth boundary. I have been thinking about place for a long time, and I would like to come here and tell you, well, we've got it nailed now, and it's all sorted out. But one of the enduring truths about great places is that there's always a mystery that remains. But I think that perhaps we can say some things about what great places are not. I'm going to read this, or I will not be able to squeeze it into 5 minutes. A good urban place is not just a sensory phenomenon, although it is that. It's not something more than something we look at. Great places are not closed and local. They're interconnected with other places. All places are global. Good places are not stable. They may be resilient and sustainable, but without remaining the same. Good places are not purified essences. The essential ingredient of good places is a diversity of people, practices and built forms. Great places are not things, but assemblages of things, of people, trees, houses, trams, offices, trains, parks, cars, shops, streets. They're assemblages of the virtual and the actual. And it's the relationships between these elements that really matter in placemaking. Urban places are not just physical. The thinking that sees people on one side and places on the other will reduce place to simply an item for consumption. A place is not a product to be produced and marketed. Places are indeed modes of production, which brings me to the question of how place produces urban value. I'm really no expert here, but I think we owe it to that greatest of all urban thinkers, Jane Jacobs, the insight that great urban places, which are also healthy cities, are the engines of the economy. Places are productive. They produce goods and services, and in an information economy, they produce ideas and experiences. They produce flows of money, accumulations of wealth. Good urban places produce what the economists call ground rent. So, the last question, how to realise this value? My sense, again, is not being an expert really, but very carefully, and so as not to kill the value in the process of realising it. We also owe to Jacobs the understanding of how easily good places can attract their own destruction. Places are the engines of wealth. They're not resources for exploitation. We maximise this value when we understand better how places work, how they are seeded, how they grow, and also how they're killed. Urban placemaking is largely a community process. There are many pessimists who think that democratic placemaking leads inevitably to either resistance to change or to a banal reproduction or a production of gateways or window dressing. I would rather suggest that the current cynicism and conservatism we see in a lot of resident groups is a legacy of poor planning that dates from the 1990s. The task is to catch the public imagination for a better urban future, and in this development of vision, I think we've hardly begun. We also realise this value of place when we put the public interest as the goal of our placemaking agenda, when we ensure that there's a synergy of public and private interests in placemaking, and when we ensure the effective governance of the planning process. Placemaking is not a zero-sum game. We also realise this value when we understand the paradox, the strange paradox, that great urban places are at once monopolies and diverse markets. They are little monopolies in the best sense of the term, in that all good places are unique. Everyone who lives here shares a monopoly on Melbourne. You can't reproduce it, you can't find it anywhere else. Yet good places, like Melbourne, also embody diversity. They are diverse markets. They can't be monopolised by singular interests without killing them. So finally, I'm very pleased to see VicUrban and the state getting serious about this issue. Melbourne has been pretty good at enhancing the value of place in some parts of our city, mostly around the centre. The task now is to roll that out into the suburbs, into the activity centres, the suburban campuses, the docks, the regional hubs, the train stations, and along the tram lines. And in each case, the big challenge is to get and keep the community on board as we address the two big issues, population growth and climate change. Thank you very much.